ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another live stream here at Papa Squatch Growers. Yes, it's another Wednesday. Here we are. The day started off well for me. I went down to the surgeon and had a good report. I can return to work very soon, so I'm very excited about that. All right, now, bear with me. I'm slightly changed all of my stuff works here, and I'm just working with it. We're going to go here, close this, and now we're going to read from the right. We're going to go back to the beginning. All right, everybody, what's happening in Texas? Watch, howdy, y'all, back to you. What's up? Gorgeous, calling to none of your mama. My goodness, you've upgraded your name, dear lady. I hope everything's going well in London for you. All right. Who else have we missed? Miss Hayes Garden, welcome to the show. Kenneth on Knox, good to see you. All right. Reds Homestead, hello, hello. Happy grower, what's up with you? 1 second here. How do I switch back to the other screen? There we go. It's funny watching this chat on two different monitors. Yes. What's up, Tom Jobs? It has been a while. It's good to see you, man. I know you're just listening. Goddess, you know, your mama, you cannot type right now, and I understand that. John Smith, treatment, if in terms of what you mean, recovery for Frank, it's going well. It's going well. If you heard a belch from the background, that's a very special guest we have in the studio today. But before we get to that, we're going to announce that, luckily for us, we had a wonderful thing happen. Somehow, we won an appeal like a week and a half ago from YouTube. And I was like, wow, I don't think we've ever won an appeal on them ruling a certain way on our shit. And then all of a sudden, we won this appeal. I'm sitting there going like, well, if we want an appeal, maybe they're being nice now. Let's click reapply to the monetization program. So we did, in fact, attempt to reapply to the monetization program. And we actually got accepted back. So for the first time in a long time, everybody, if you notice at the bottom of the screen, remember, none of this is ever required any content participation, preferential treatment. That's not how our community works. It's just thing there. We have the memberships back, the super chats back, and all that bullshit back. We actually figured it out, got it going, and we're back with really being allowed to be more of ourselves here on YouTube. Is there still a shadow block, a shadow ban to cannabis-based content? Maybe. I'm not sure. We will have to wait to see. But so far, so good. Are we going to see a video on your table ball milking? Holy shit, that one stuff. Thank you very much, dear. So you are the first one in 2 years. You just de-virginized the welcome back to the monetization world. Thank you, that one stuff. That show us your roach jar. All right, this is where I'm going to show that I'm a douchebag. I don't keep roaches. Lies to us, no things down till I didn't want to smoke anymore, and I just smoke out. When you pot squatch, you've got enough weed in your will that, you know, eventually it comes a day where you just don't care about roaches. I know that sounds horrible, but that's the world I live in. So I don't have a jar. Tom Jobs is saying the sound is dodgy. All right, no worries. Playing with stuff. How about now, Tom? Is it a little louder for you? If I lean a little bit closer there for you, Tom, is that better? We are playing with sort of a studio that's not perfect, but it is what it is. That one stuff. I hope it was as good for me. Oh, I'm sure it was good for me, Tom. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for the love. All right, yeah, we'll do some duck face for you there, Tom Jobs. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is marking a beautiful thing, I think, in the cannabis world. YouTube is seemingly, for now, accepting us as what we are. Cannabis content, I should turn off the notifications on my phone, is maybe now not getting super persecuted as much as it was. You know, it's funny, someone commented on what sort of when we announced our first little update on the plants there in the tent there. You know, just like they're not loving us, they're not caring about us, they're just greedy and they're just wanting to make more money. Well, realistically, that's probably true, but God damn it, I don't care. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, and I'm going to be accepting to it. Now, if they can review the shadow ban of our content, I mean, age restrictions are always going to hold us back, but you know what? Kids shouldn't be watching this shit anyway. So we'll work that way. Everybody, tune into your cannabis channels, all of them, you know, other cannabis channels. Try remonetizing, see what happens. Let's all dip our toes into this pool and pond and see what happens. I agree, Mud Swat. Free the cannabis growers. Jansen Dennis, I am doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Message retracted. I'm assuming Miss K retracted her own question. No wonder though. Here's something good. There we go. There we go. There we go. Miss K, welcome to moderatorship on the channel. I just wanted to show you a bit of love. Miss K, you've always shown us love, and welcome to helping to regulate the show. Yo, what's happening, Crazy Train? Good to see you. Welcome to the show, my friends. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest today coming on the show. A special guest coming on the show, as I'm sure you saw in the thumbnail and the title of the live stream. My father, as I call him, the Holy Gimp, Gandalf himself, is joining us in studio today. Simply put, we thought it would be fun, to have him on the show. We're gonna, have a laugh and talk about the early days of the Papa Squatch and what was it like to rear a dipshit. Um, we'll see what happened, right? We'll see what happened, and see how the show goes. But I think it could be fun. Let's see. Are we missing anything from anyone? Hey, I feel you, Mud Swat, 100%. All right. I don't think we're missing anything. There we go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing on the show my dad, the one that many have affectionately started calling Papa Squatch now. Yes, he is, in fact, the father that made me. Billy Bonks Horton's calling you Santa Squatch. All right. So, we're going to bring you on the show in a second there, down here. I'm just clicking buttons and pretending I know what I'm doing. First, we're going to add him to the stage, and then we're going to turn up this microphone. Say hello into your microphone, Dad. Let's see if it works.
Hello into the microphone.
All right. Say something again. I'm doing sound levels now.
I'm saying something again.
All right. Anybody, can you hear Santa Squatch? Gandalf himself, the Holy Gimp. Can we hear him?
Fuck no.
Don't say the F-bomb too many times or else, we piss off YouTube. We can swear, but, save it for the good ones. All right. Mud Swat says they can hear you. Hey, there we go. And one more time here. We've got one more moderation change here to make before we get going on the show. Add moderator. There we go. And save. And there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The man himself, the dipshit that is my father.
Yeah, that's me, universally known as the dipshit.
So, ladies and gentlemen, not only is he my father, he was a priest for what, 30? Well, I mean, you're technically still a priest, but you're retired now. But how long were you a non-retired priest?
Oh, 40 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know. I'm older than snot.
You've been a priest longer than I've been alive. All right. So, simply put, ladies and gentlemen, I thought it would be fun to bring my dad on the show, and we're just going to have some fun and laugh about things there. So tell us, Papa Squatch there. Tell us, what was Papa Squatch like a little boy? Was he a sweet kid or was he a fucking asshole? Tell us about that. Look at the camera. Don't look at me. Look at the camera. Then they can see your sexy glasses. I mean, you can look at me too. It's all right.
It's not like real TV when you're not supposed to look at the damn camera.
No, we don't got like 8 cameras going. We don't got someone editing it. Yeah, it's
what
just
was
me.
It like? He was a food machine. In his early days, he'd wake up screaming his head off, and you sat there for the first 20 minutes and tried to shovel as much goddamn food as you get in his throat. And then he'd fall asleep and be asleep for 4 hours. Those 4 hours were great. But that basically is the first 2 years of his life. Eating.
Eating and sleeping. All right. Uncle Papa Squatch was born with the proverbial munchies. All right. So let's fast forward a bit here. Early childhood. I ate and I slept. And that was the thing. I think I already asked that question. All right. So I'm just looking at some notes I made, everybody. Bear with me here. Okay. This is a funny story. So everybody, let's talk about, I've talked about this story on the show before. And, our memories may differ slightly on it. I don't think so, though. We're really going back to Oh, no, those are two different stories. I am blending two different stories into my head. I'm pretty sure, in fact, actually, the first time I got caught for pot was pot that I brought back from Gabriola Island after working, doing a roofing gig randomly, and I bought it off a hippie lady. That's not the one I was thinking of, though. I believe it was the time. You remember when you and Mom found like a crap ton of bags of marijuana under the bedspread in my bedroom, like a lot of marijuana.
Uh, I don't remember that, but then you got to remember that I've had 3 strokes because I think
All right.
my strokes were coming to wipe all that shit out of my memory.
All right, so let's see if we can spark your stroke brain here. So basically, I got caught with a shitload of weed under my bedspread. I got taken out onto the balcony of your guys' bedroom. Their bedroom at the top of the house. We lived at Kids Land Diversion. Okay, you had that balcony out there, and we sat out there. And I remember talking to you guys.
Okay, now I
Yeah.
remember sitting out on the balcony.
Yeah, right. And then I remember, I don't know if it was you or Mom. I don't think you would have ever said this, so it must have been Mom, right? Because it was like, you know, her programming from her early childhood, the war on drugs coming out. Joshua, marijuana's the devil. And I mean, I'm the son of 2 Anglican priests, okay? Like, I mean, I was taught that the devil doesn't exist. So it was hilarious to me. Do you remember this instance, though, of when I got in trouble with a shitload of weed in my bedroom now?
You remember you getting in trouble. Remember there was a conversation on the balcony. I don't remember details, but so go with your story. I'll simply nod my head and say, yeah, your version of the story is correct.
Yeah, so
because I don't remember.
Well, they had looked up on the police website about what the said value of these things was, and so they scared themselves, thinking that, like, you know, I had an exorbitant amount of pot. I mean, it was a good chunk of pot, but I mean, like, it was only a single A grade. It was not expensive. I got it on a good deal. I bought a much larger quantity, flipped the other part as a kid to pay for the other part. So I owned this outright. This was the spoils of my championship here. And so they're freaking out, thinking I owe someone money. And I'm like, I don't owe anybody money. You know, I mean, there's one last dude I got to pay off, but I got the cash, blah, 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 blah. And they're freaking out. How'd you get the money to pay for this? And it was called creativity. Creativity. Oh, wait. Is it frozen on the YouTube for everybody? Or is that just my thing here? Is it still coming through, everybody? Oh, it is. I just had to refresh. There we go. But yeah, no, that was a funny time, though. Back in the day, do you have any memories of me in high school in terms of being associated with marijuana, anything? Because I mean, do you remember Darlene Brader and how much she loved me? That was my principal, everybody.
I remember going in. Darlene Brader was the principal of the high school. There was many visits to the principal's office. Here I go all through my childhood. Never once was in the damn principal's office. My son goes to high school. I'm in the principal's office every second week. So, yeah, I remember those conversations.
In my defense, she was a very conservative Baptist, okay? She was a conservative Baptist woman who hated my guts. So, of course, she was trying to get me in trouble.
Well, you would have had to have worked harder to do that. You were smarter than she was. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
I never really got caught for pot directly at school, just being associated with proximity of events. I remember this one time I went to Bing Arts Gala, right? So I got stoned before I went. I had a bunch of weed on me, but I was smart and I knew they couldn't strip search me at this event. It was a formal event. It was Bing Art. It was special, you know? So I wore basketball shorts with pockets in them and I wore them underneath my pants. I didn't really care about smell. I just kind of threw everything sort of there, and then I put my costume over top. And so I come in, and you know, Darlene can smell the weed. She can smell the weed, and she can check my pocket, but she can't strip search me. So eventually, I have this wall that said "legalize" and a big pot leaf on it, and that kind of comes out. So Darlene looks at me all seriously. Why would you ever own such a thing?
I gotta have something to put my money in.
Yeah. So I turned to her and I said, "Well, Darlene, it is a political ideology and a political movement that I am doing everything I can to bring about." Yeah, she never found a pot though. It was funny though. That woman hated my guts. It was a good time.
Yeah, that was true. She definitely had it out for you, and she never managed to quote unquote get you or catch you or
No.
it is what it is. So we go from there. I think back from where we are now to all those stories in the past, and like thank God we've come the direction we've come in because that was just so much time and energy and that was wasted over bullshit. At the end of the day, we're at least in Canada, in a healthier place where, you just be who you are and there. So,
Well, I mean, there is still some persecutions, right? But I mean,
again,
the red tape associated with getting licensing, for example, that's a pain in the
it's
ass.
perhaps one of the few times in which Canada is leading the world. I don't know. I'm not saying we're the first place to legalize this, but legalization is something that should have happened a hell of a long time ago at the end of it. And this is from a guy who's never smoked pot and doesn't want to.
You love the smell of pot, don't you?
I would much rather smell your short.
All right, everybody, we're going to do an on-camera test, and we're going to see how this works here. He's just down that way, so he's down with.
Okay. Yeah, of course, you got to torture me now. Torture.
You get a YouTube strike for torturing senior citizens.
Come on. Hey, hold on. You already told me there's language restrictions on YouTube. If there wasn't that, I'd be saying something different now. Oh, God help me.
Have a sip of your drink. It'll make you feel better.
Hey. Now.
So anyway, everybody, at the expense of my father's comfortability, we had a fun little experiment there just to prove a point.
Oh.
The man's not a fan of the smell.
I'm not a fan of the smell, but I will completely support the legalization of it. Just don't blow it in my face. Got that?
Yeah, no, I hear you. We just had to do that for one take. We're good now. That's right. At least it wasn't a bong rip. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Oh, Moggy. Sorry, everybody. Mogwai wants to come say hi to everybody. Here we go. Here's little Mogwai. Okay, sit down, buddy. So, yeah, simply put, let's move on then. Really fast forwarding. I mean, we could skip over sort of, the years of when I was, well, legally married. I mean, I wouldn't call it much marriage. It was more of a
You were
early
married.
young adult playing pretend marriage. But let's be fair, that's legally it was a marriage. I've even got a legal case against the German government and dealing with a bunch of all of that. This case garden definitely calls senior abuse on me, fumigating you slightly just there. But I mean, this was a very positive memory in my memory of things, everybody. So when this is going back before the world legalization, before we were Pot Squatch on YouTube, before any of this, this is for documentary education purposes of talking about history. How old was I, would you say? Like what, 23 when I came back from the first failed marriage?
Yeah, that would be about right.
About that, right? Let's go with
A little
23.
over, maybe.
So
Whatever.
yeah, so somehow I had managed to find myself this tiny little bachelor suite from Germany. I'm sitting there watching Craigslist like a hawk, you know what I mean? And I get this, showing. I was the first person to call about this posting. The second it went up, and so I called my dad right away. I'm like, "Yo, can you go check out this one bedroom apartment or no bachelor suite? It's cheap as fuck. I can afford it. It's the only way for me to leave my wife because blah blah blah. All this verbal stuff's happening. I gotta come home. Go check it out. Do you remember that?
I do.
All
Remember
right.
the building. It's actually a big old house that was subdivided.
And the landlord still is there, makes folk art, believes in interdimensional aliens. It also looks like Santa Claus. You look like, really, to be fair, Santa's thin cousin. If you guys met Jack, you'd be like, oh, okay, so Jack looks like Santa. And, then here's his cousin, Strokey McGandalf.
Yeah, I'm more like Gandalf than Santa.
But it was funny because so he goes and checks it out, and I come back, right? So we were sitting there having a beer, and obviously growing up, my father was aware that growing up, engaging within the world of cannabis and doing cannabis things and maybe being a bit of a hustler was a way that I had managed to survive and supplement my basic income as a person, historically speaking. And so, do you remember what I'm building up to? It was a very sweet gesture.
Got to keep building because remember, stroke reality here.
All right, we haven't quite sparked his memory. Let's see if we remember this one. So we're sitting in the bar there having a beer, and my dad turns to me and he goes, "Well, used to make money selling pot. Yeah. So this is before the strokes, and there's this priest sitting here talking to his son in a bar. How much money would it take you to start selling pot again?
Yes, I have a memory of that. There we go.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I haven't made some calls. I don't know what colloquial going rates are, but if we're going to talk, let's talk realistically, start conservatively. We'll start at a place we can work our way out in terms of the basic project margin, current market prices. I'm pretty sure about X, Y, and Z. We could probably start with about a half pound for half pound of trips or something like that. Maybe some quiet shit. We probably need about $800. I can figure something out. He goes, all right. We leave the bar, we go to the bank, and then he gets back in the car and he tosses me and goes, there's $850. Go make money and don't be a fucking bum. He didn't say bum, but it was like something like that. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there going,
remember that. I remember that.
and I'm like, wow, a priest just endorsed me into selling weed as as a young person. I was like, does that mean my hustle's blessed by the church?
I wouldn't go that far. Here's what I would say. You know what? I mean, it wasn't legal at that time, but we were moving in the direction in Canada, at least, to legalize it. In my head, I mean, even though we don't use it, it's no different than going out to grab a beer or whatever the spirit you want to drink. So if you were asking me to support you in investing in a bar, I mean, culture, society would say I'm a great guy. What a generous dad. It's no different than supplying you $850 to get you started again, to get some product to begin to move it. The fact that the country hadn't caught up again is irrelevant to me. That's just what we did. I'm here to try to support you. So,
Well, see, and like that was the thing for me, right? Was like that was kind of the first step. I mean, in terms of movement of what eventually led to what we're doing now, of being the channel, pot smart growers, trying to get that back, doing light, doing CBDs, doing genetic wines, and trying to educate people and be a positive movement within the cannabis space. For me, I mean, I knew you were like, I mean, before that, you were aware of my weed shit. And,
yes,
after a point, y'all backed off and left me alone a bit about it. They're like, "Yep, there's our black sheep, that shit, son." I don't think you thought that, but maybe you did at one point. Who knows? But for me, though, the validation, it was like, "All right." And it was kind of a nice welcome home. Like I was so stressed with this marriage, everybody. My beard had fallen out through this, and when at the time I wasn't Papa Squatch yet, I was just known as Sasquatch. That's where the right tit tattoo came from. What was my first nickname was Sasquatch. Um, it's actually Sasquatch Power, and it's funny. Some people see my hairy chest, they read it wrong. They're like, "Are you a skinhead?" I'm like, "No, it says Sasquatch Power, you dipshit. Read a book." Chest. But anyway, coming back, it was like the first validation of that. You know what I mean? And now, I mean, to be fair, you're the second majority shareholder of the company.
there we go.
A man who doesn't smoke weed is the second majority shareholder of my
Well,
company.
I just had this thing that filtered into my brain, so I'm going to say it.
Go for
You
it.
know, the Kennedys in the United States. I mean, how the Kennedy family, at least majorly, made a great deal of their money was running booze during Prohibition, and so booze was illegal at one time. Pot was illegal in Canada at one time. It's no different than what Joseph Kennedy, the father of JFK,
Mhm.
was doing. I mean, I supported you. It's not in the same scale, and so far we haven't made the same amount of money. I'm just saying that. I'm not opposed to making some money, but at the end of it, the comparison. I think it's an apt comparison. So in the those who want to flap their gums and yell and scream about this, I say shut the hell up and move forward. Like, get a life. You don't need to like it. But who the hell cares? I don't care.
Miss Case Garden has a comment to what she's listening to you speak right now, and she said, "If everyone thought about cannabis like your father, it would be legal."
Yeah, it would be. I think it would be great if it was legal everywhere. And this is a guy who doesn't use it. At the end of the day, we wouldn't be running down the street, screaming our heads off as if our underwear is on fire because, like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, let's be frank, and you know this, and I know this, is that the origins of the prohibition of pot has as much to do with racist ideology as anything else. It's more a take on a racist take because quote unquote black people smoke pot. Well, okay, big bloody deal.
Well, and the fact is, though, too, and another part was actually the sexism part to it historically as well, because classically, even going back to Queen Elizabeth I and others, cannabis had been used to treat a lot of female ailments, so like menstrual cramps and other things like that. So cannabis was regularly used before
It was
the war on
regularly
drugs and all of
prescribed,
that.
as was, and here I'm not advocating the use of cocaine. The cocaine was as regularly prescribed and given out as anything else.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's where Freudian psychology came from.
Well, he's a major user of cocaine.
Oh,
I mean, I think it's a bit reductionist to say that Freudian psychology came from his cocaine use, but it's interesting that the two things are there. Okay,
right.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
we're
Okay,
just having fun with
this is my egghead dad.
Long story
I'm
short,
now
ladies and
shutting
gentlemen,
up.
no, he's a 20th century history major, loves history, well read, and even an author who releases many books. He might even embarrass him a little bit. Read the sections. They're quite deep, actually. It wouldn't be embarrassing. He's just probably going to feel uncomfortable if we read it on air. But let's move forward here. So, where are we moving forward to? Where's the next pot? Really, the pot story where we can jump in here, in terms of things. Well, you were the first investor ever in the company too. Like you, the first. Well, technically, Gooba bought a couple of blurple lights, and these are the early episodes way back when. But you remember when this would go fast forward like a year and a bit, maybe into the channel, um, maybe a year and a half. Hard to say, but I'd have to check the YouTube, history. But when we bought the first house, remember when we bought that first house, right? And we were gonna, expand, and that's where we're gonna have the lab. So that was really when the channel kind of had growth. We went from like maybe 3,000 people at that time where we exploded, we hit 20 very quickly.
I remember it going even earlier than that. If I had a bit of money, and so
His mama died.
well, that was true. But,
I'm not trying to be insensitive about it.
remember we met at that hotel over in the Far East side of Vancouver, where you used to work.
Right? The Atrium Inn.
Right, and we met in their pub. And
that was called the Press Box.
And I said to you, okay, what money do you need to get this company off the ground?
Oh, yeah.
And the figure of $10,000 was mentioned, and I said, okay, I'm making an investment of $10,000.
This is actually eerily reminiscent of the story of me coming back from my first failed marriage. Yeah, she was not a nice wife. My beard fell out. Hey, imagine that. All right. Well, it was just kind of in a weird way to think about it. Kind of like the same move, really.
Well, I looked at it. Again, as the guy who doesn't smoke or anything else, and I'm not an idiot, and I recognize that this is a good possibility to hopefully make a little bit of money. So keep making money because I still want to make a little bit of money. So we provided some seed money to get you off the ground and get you moving, and get you going. And then a little while later, you guys got that first house. Yes, then I remember that. So that's the background to getting the first house.
Yeah, no, that's true. So, but okay, so like I remember that. Let's fast forward. Excuse me again. What was your experience in terms of your memory? There may be nothing there. We have nothing to talk about. But when the first, what I'll call travesty, that happened to the hindrance of our growth of what we were trying to do, both for the community and then build our little company as a vehicle to support what we're doing within the community. When we had our first payment portal, remember when I called you all pissed off? I would have been probably swearing continuously about how Shopify pulled our payment portal. We weren't allowed to take payment.
I remember that. I remember being kind of bewildered by that. And because we're in Canada, and I think by that time it was legalized, or right around the time it was legalized, and so like we're not doing anything that's illegal where we live, and so you're because you're with Shopify was in the States, right?
What's
They were in the States, Shopify,
that?
Canadian company. So the fact that they pulled us is just, completely confused the hell out of me. I mean, what the hell are you guys doing? Don't you have better things to do than persecute some tiny startup? Come on.
Like, choppy. So everybody keep reporting on what you're hearing. But so simply put, though, what happened at first was they revoked our ability to use their payment portal, but they also saying they had no issue with what we were doing on the platform. They just weren't going to allow us to use their payment portal.
And let me translate that for you. They had an issue with what was being done. So let's cut the bullshit. Like my entire career, period. And any way you want to look at it is don't. Well, here I'm going to quote Judge Judy right now. Don't piss on my leg and try to tell me it's raining. And Shopify was pissing on our leg and trying to tell us it was raining. Come on, we're not this damn stupid. So again, on the one hand, I'm not surprised by that kind of response, but on the other hand, I was still surprised. Like, come on, have somebody have going to use a male term here. Okay, somebody have some cojones. Somebody have some gut. Somebody have something to stand up and do what needs to be done. So, anyway, that's the point.
Well, and so basically that happened. So we proceeded to exit the company. We spent the next, I want to say like 18 or 19 months, or before no, let me think here. No, we would have started building the new store. It took us almost 2 years to finally complete and get everything working. But we went through at least 18 or 19 payment portals that we got denied by. We weren't allowed, even portals that said they were we off all the weed industry, we off all the weed industry. So don't worry. And they wouldn't allow us to do things. Eventually we got rejected or they were charging too much, like they were wanting cuts of the actual sale to the level that it wouldn't really make it something we could actually do to scale anything. So we ended up not only building our own website, but we built our own payment portal too. By the way, before you say anything, ladies and gentlemen at home, do you like a website? It's a website that's secure. If you like to figure out how to have a payment portal work for you, well, guess what? We can replicate everything we've built for you through our friends company can do that for you. If anyone has any questions about that, feel free to send an email to hotspot at gmail.com. I'm going to type this out as it was when I learned how to grow and be a weed man. I will also share what we have learned company with anyone who chooses to. If you would like to make an inquiry about that, it's going to be serviced by our company that it's not our company. We don't own it. We work with them. We have helped pay for the development of the technology being proprietary. And we will I'll put it to you this way: if you choose and you've been having the same problems we did on this, and you want a website, you want something that's going to be able to work with you. We're willing to work with you, and we will extend what we do for you. And it just let us know. It's all about being all inclusive and empowering people here at Papa Squatch Growers. All right, Dr. Tank, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. If anyone's popped in and said hello, and I haven't said hello to you, I apologize. Anyone who's watching at home who has a question for the old left to me,
Apparently, you're not supposed to say that word.
I know you don't occasionally. If we say it like 3 or 4 times, we're not too much in trouble. But if we say it
Oh, okay. All right. So we're starting.
I'm not great at not
listen.
swearing.
In 12 minutes, I'm going to say that word. Just 12 minutes. I'll say the word.
Ladies and gentlemen, take note of this. If anyone has a question for the old F word, we can answer that as well. Papa Squatch like edibles. No, Papa Squatch doesn't do no weed, man. He's not one to partake of the weedness. He's not against any of it. It's just not for him.
And like there's no rational reason as to why I'm not. It's just that I just don't. I have no interest in it, and perhaps it's early indoctrination. I mean, listen, I'm older well, too early to say the F word. I'm older than the F word, and back in the day, that's just not where I grew up in the kind of, suburban embodiment of Wonder Bread, all things white and British. This is not what you do, so I was inculcated with that, I have not felt any need to get beyond that. I mean, well, you should be able to figure out that by saying I was inculcated, that I was, taught or perhaps even brainwashed by that. Okay, that's my opinion. But that doesn't mean I have any need to partake of it, nor do I need to get too hung up whether other people do. Cut the crap. I mean, so we move on from there. Now I'm shutting up.
No, I actually don't know. Wait, I turned my mic down. Okay. Here's a question I have. Historically speaking, let's go back to your earlier years. What was your experience as a young person in Canada in terms of what the colloquial of the time social mindset was in regards to cannabis or marijuana, or as I like to call them, weed titties, sir?
Okay, well, the easiest way to come at that is that there was no specificity about cannabis. In fact, it was just called, marijuana, marijuana, however they would try to pronounce it. But it was all lumped into drugs, don't take drugs, drugs are bad. Of course, this was something said by those who, freely partook of booze ad infinitum and would, get work all week long and get bombed out of their mind on the weekend, and not recognizing that alcohol is in fact one of the oldest drugs known to humankind. Now, that being said, um, I was raised in a culture which it said, "Don't take drugs." And for whatever reason, that took hold of me. I just outside of booze and then for more years than I want to admit, outside of smoking cigarettes, um, I don't take, the drugs. Now, I'm not saying that to proclaim some kind of virtue or anything, it's just that my drug of choice is alcohol. Fair enough, I'll be upfront about it, and, so
And the interesting question I have for you then. You find it funny that you grew up with one mindset, one way of things, right? And then the universe was like, let's send the fucking weed guys and see what happens. But then it'll be even more confusing because the weed guys like drinking too. And then it's gonna be like, oh man, let's see what happens there, right? What do you think about that?
You have to repeat the question because I didn't hear what you were saying.
Oh, right.
Not only am I old, not only have I had a stroke, I'm also deaf as a post. Say it clearly. Enunciate. Imagine you're on the stage.
All right. Here we go, Papa Squatch. Given that you grew up in a world where everybody hated on a good time. Okay. All right. So, like they said, fucking weed and shit's bad. Oh, I just stole the next F word. Oh, say it now. Get it out. Okay. It's not dead air time. It's always a good time with this show. So here's the question. Given that you grew up when you did, with the mindset that you did, do you find it whimsical or funny that the universe made me come out your penis?
Well, first of all, that the way you talked about it, I don't think of it so much as you coming out my penis. And if that was the case, my penis is now retreating up into my butt cavity. It's like, oh my god. Uh, To me, it's just I think it's there's always a certain absurdity to the universe that given the fear that I was inculcated with in terms of the drug, and again, I'm not overall advocating the use of drugs, but um, there's a certain humor to it all that which was demonized forever and ever is now being recognized as no more dangerous than alcohol. Um, and should be treated in a very similar fashion, in my opinion, around the world. End of point.
Would you not agree? If anything, marijuana, frankly, is actually less dangerous than alcohol. Let's be fair. Like, I mean, I've never gotten just straight stoned and like had an angry moment. But you know, this stuff
Again,
happened on booze for sure. You know,
I can't speak from experience, but I will say this, that there are more fights, more violence, and more destruction that's burst out of the use of alcohol than comes out of the use of weed. Um, they have very different effects on the nervous system and so on. So, end of point.
banners here and stuff.
Geez, it's almost as if I'm trying to talk myself out of having a beer, and I should have a Coke. So, uh, unfortunately, I'm not going to persuade myself to do that.
Wouldn't that be a thing to see on the show, though? Man seduces himself into smoking for the first time on Pot Squatch Pro.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Okay, here's the thing: if you pay me $57 million, I'll have a Coke on camera. But I would not before being paid 57 million. And when we get to the 57 million offer, I'll make it 570 million, and then I'll have one.
All right, well, if we raise $57 million, you start smoking marijuana, I will hold you down and force you to do.
So there we go. I have set my price, people.
That's fine.
My price to watch me toke is $570 million.
No, 57 million.
No, I told you we'll get to 57, then move to 570.
Well, let's hope Elon or some other billionaire dipshits watching at home.
Listen, Elon, if you're listening now, send $570 million to my son to give to me, and I will have a Coke. Not many, I'll have a Coke. Elon, come on, baby. You've got lots of spare cash. Come on, you cheap son of a bitch. Send the money. Send the money.
Let's say brokerage fee, obviously. But anyway, so let's get back to kind of the topic thing there. What was your first real reaction? Take back now, the first house, right? Because obviously you saw me doing plants on a smaller scale, but you never see me doing any of the bigger things that I've done. And so doing kind of what was still a small setup, but bigger than anything you would personally see. What was it like for you walking into the jungle at first?
And seeing your bro?
Yeah.
I think honestly, my honest response was that I was kind of impressed. Because number one, I don't like growing shit, and I was impressed that you knew what the hell you were talking about. And I guess that's always been my most honest reaction is that much to my surprise, you really know what you're talking about, and uh, you've managed to educate yourself in such a way that you're probably could call yourself an expert, and number one surprised me, and number two, I was rather proud of what you did. Well done, go for it.
Um, first ones, I got five. The what you're saying is 570 million. Like, let's be fair. Realistically, even if people that came through, I think this dude should take it to him. Let's be fair. Sit in front of you, and we go, Chai. Somebody
For $5?
no, not $5, even a few million bucks, they said. But then that one stuff also goes, I'll do the donation of $100 right now if he smokes on camera. I told her, we're just making a joke. We're just
Okay. Donate $100 at a time. When we get to 570, I will toke. My solemn promise. 570 million. $100 at a time. Come on, guys.
God, you're an expensive date. My God, you're an expensive date.
Uh,
All right. So, for example, here's a question. So, background for everyone. The funny part of this story is I've often reminded my father of his own father. I've often reminded my father of his own father, which I find. But what do you think now if you saw what the Buccaneers group, which is at least half of his family name, does and is associated with, and what they think about, and what their ideologies are? Go.
it's that's a hard one. I mean, my father was a man of, I'll call him a man of excess in that he was very successful in business. He's a very good businessman, and um, he was a guy who was very clear as to his opinions, and hence his what. That's why he reminds me of Josh or Pops or Pot Squat. They're very strong in their opinions. They're very clear on where they are at. That my father was completely anti-pot. He could be balanced off by the man loved to imbibe, he loved to have beer and so on. He was a great host. He loved hospitality. He would invite you over to his house. Loved all that crap. So it's if you take him out of his time and plop him down now in 2023, he's been died in 2005, but you plopped him down now and allowed him to catch up to speed. I think he might, in a way, be rather proud of what you're doing.
Well, at least we're giving them hell and saying, suck our dick.
Yeah.
Homage to Frankie, everyone at home. By the way, I'm healing well. Okay. But all right. So let's talk about one thing I would say for the pot squatch nature, the nature of the pot squatch, the nature of what we've done, what we embrace. So, like, empowering people is the basic concept, everything we want to do. But we do gain a sick pleasure at stirring the pot, challenging the assholes in the system and standing up to shit. I want you to talk about your own personal experience, okay? To the fact is, ladies and gentlemen, he has been a man who has been fairly.
Really? I've been a man. Holy crap. Thanks for the revelation.
Or else I wouldn't be there. But the fact of the matter is, he stood against a lot of the systems of the church and things. He would. I mean, and this I know is a sore one in terms of the family story here, Dad. But you remember when your mom was like, John, if you just shut your mouth, you'd be a bishop already.
Yeah, I heard that many a time.
Yeah, once or twice, right? What a mean thing to say. But so at the end of the day, though, I do believe in the nature of how you've been within your own profession, your own world, which is the world of the church. Being rambunctious, being out there, being like, the thumbnail of the show is you flipping off the world wearing a Santa hat, saying Merry effing Christmas. So, I mean, at the end of the day, talk about that a bit. Share about what where were you always a controversial aspect, or did you grow into that as you aged? Tell us more about the origin story there of yourself.
Well, I'll give you a slice of it because if I get into detail, viewership will fall off a cliff and you'll be listening to two people. Okay. So here's what I've always been a contrarian. I've always been when I was 3 years old, my father called me a curmudgeon, and I didn't know what that meant. But then later on in life, excuse me, I just had to burp here. There we go. Later on in life, I learned how it was spelled and looked it up in the dictionary and read the definition. I went, yeah, that's pretty much right. I am a curmudgeon. If you tell me you can't do something, no, 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 I'm probably gonna, attempt to do it within certain realities. So I've always been a guy who's always, paid attention. I always look around and I don't suffer fools gladly. Um, and I think that's my way through the church. I'm not trying to dump on the church. I mean, I'll say this and I won't go any further. But I have a deep and abiding love for the church, and the church annoys the shit out of me. And so I have very little patience with bullshit. I have very little patience with prima donna dickheads. I have very little patience with assholes wearing dresses or, walking around trying to serve Holy Mother Church and saying, "We're real men." Come on, you bloody idiots. Um, I have a real concern for questions and calls of justice and hospitality and generosity and all of that kind of stuff. Um, and I think that within the church the way I want it to see itself, but it exceeds what the church is. I'm not married to the church, but I will still, being an old frustrated asshole that I am, I'm not gonna leave it. I'll still call it out. I'll still criticize it because I care for it to be more than it is. But at the end of the day, life is far broader, far bigger than the church, and, the church has just gotta get over itself and realize that what it's trying to serve is already out there in life, so I'm gonna shut up because, being an old preacher, I'm gonna relapse into a sermon, in which case you'll then be pulling out the, guns and saying, "How can we shoot this guy through the damn screen?" And I'm saying, "Well, try your best."
All right. Well, I mean, the one thing I'll comment to hear that is there's a very similar fashion to what my approach was both to the world of YouTube as well as the cannabis industry as it's developed over years. And it's like, you know, you know, the biggest movement, I guess, really is all inclusivity, right? Come as you are and be yourself. And I think I learned that from you and mom for sure. But you know, I would be lying if I didn't say that, like, when I saw stupid bullshit or people being idiots or something I don't agree with, I'm definitely gonna say it. I've never been afraid of that. And we're trying to create sort of an all-inclusive community and be mindful of what you know, but keep an open mind. But at the same time, when you see bullshit, you gotta stand up and take a swing and say, "No." It's like, "Fuck that shit." We don't mean obviously literally, it's more metaphorically on that, but, I know, so I respect that. I mean, I myself at least hear certain origins, shall we say, of certain sentiments or energy, shall we say, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, and I'm resisting, giving into my philosophical bent, and, because this is not what you don't want this to be a show in terms of radical theology, so I'm gonna shut the fuck up. I come at it this way. When I was a kid, my father used to have all these practical jokes he would, pull, and, remember that he had this aerosol that had a label on it, and he gave it to me as a present, and I opened the present up, and here's this aerosol, and it said, "A bullshit detector," so you could spray this aerosol, and it would detect the presence of bullshit in the room, and, um, that as I think back on that, my father gave me this joke about bullshit detecting. I suspect because he had very little patience for bullshit. At the end of the day, it struck me. I have very little patience at all for fucking bullshit. I don't give a shit where it comes from. Bullshit is bullshit, and all it is piled high and it smells. Unless, of course, you mix it with some straw and you spread it across, acreage, and then it becomes fertilizer. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of pretension, there's a lot of crap, which is actually interlaced into a lot of our drug policies in terms of governments and so on. There's so much bullshit that's caught up in drug policy. The bottom line is that marijuana is no different than booze in the sense of how it should be handled, and there are other drugs that are indeed possibly more of an issue. But addiction is not a criminal issue. Addiction is a medical issue. So cut the crap and move along. So I'm going to shut up now.
It's all good. It's all good. No, and that's very true. You know, it's funny. I think some of the sentiments that you're sharing. I mean, there's a bunch of people in terms of the industry with some of the local things in Vancouver with the cannabinoid replacement project, for example, of Neil, and I have my own commentary on how I love what they're doing and I respect what they're doing. I mean, when it comes to the way they vocalize outwards publicly, I mean, it kind of feels like always the same rant. Would be my only issue with what they do in terms of activism and trying to stand up to talk. It's like, you know, the old bag ain't working, so adapt or die and keep fighting for the mission. But their sentiment, though, is very reminiscent of what you're talking about there too, at the same time, and caring and really looking at what addiction truly is in terms of working with people and trying to find a world of greater health and approaching these matters or these issues with more of an enlightened thought or sense to it, as opposed to a bunch of low bullshit.
I agree with you.
All right. So here's the fun question.
Oh boy, the final question.
What?
Is this the coming of the end times?
It is. It is. As we're approaching an hour.
2 minutes, get your shit together. 2 minutes, get your shit together.
All right. So, dear Father, dear Reverend, he hates this. Dear Father, Reverend John. Oh, Father.
Okay, speak up. I can't hear you.
Dear Father, Reverend John, if
What the
you
hell
were
is
to
that?
inherit to us as a holy man, your words of wisdom, tell us, John, if you were to die right now and shit yourself on my couch, if you have enough words in you to get it out before that happens, what the fuck will you say?
I didn't understand what you were saying.
If you were to impart your
Speak up.
words of wisdom, your meanings of anything, and then you're gonna die. You're gonna drop dead on my couch right after you impart. This is your last thing that you want to say to the audience at home, and then you're gonna shit
echoing
yourself.
George Carlin.
Yeah.
You know, you hear the 2 minute warning, you got 2 minutes, wax eloquent for the first time in your life. Oh, fuck me. Okay, good, good. Listen, here's what I'm gonna say is this, and I'm not saying this is eloquent, I'm just gonna say it because I really have to pee. All right. Listen, life is certainly worth a hell of a lot more than pot or a hell of a lot more than booze. Life is far exceeds all that shit. That doesn't mean that you can't have a Coke or 2 or 3 or 4, or a couple of drinks, have something nice to eat, whatever you like to eat. You know, life exceeds all of those kinds of things. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't occasionally, if you so choose, include those things. So all those systems and structures and governments that wanna get in the way of this shit, go fuck yourself. Did I say that?
I say that regularly myself on the show.
Ladies, my friends, my family, let's take a moment here. Put your hands together. Say thank you very much to old Papa Squatch coming on the show here. We're gonna put him
There
on
we
stage.
go. And if you ever have me back, I'll probably, look pretty much the same except wrinkly.
Nothing wrong with that.
This is my true look. Oh my. I know. Put the glasses back on.
Look at
Got
those
that.
bags. Look
There
at
we
those
go.
bags.
All right.
Long story short, everybody, Dad, thank you very much for coming on the show. You can relax. You can relax there. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome back to the monetization program. We got plants fired up and going. We're getting back to what we do. It's called educational videos, how-to videos, as well as growing as we go. For those of you who have never checked it out, we do in fact have the store open for business. Hats, t-shirts, grinders, tape,
We've got beans, beard oil, CBD infused beard oil, best beard oil in the line of the world, of the lines of beard oil, and CBDs, all that crap. We're gonna be expanding that too. A lot of fun things are coming, okay? This is the new next generation of the show, I guess, and the fact of the matter is I'm pretty stoked that things are back, and so simply put, my friend, my family, like, subscribe if you haven't already, please tell your friends, share it around, let them know about these assholes up in Canada, and, long night sorry, I'm, like, reading people's messages, like, blending into my words now, but simply put, my friends, um I'm excited. Be excited. We got good shit happening, everybody. And remember, the true grower is the forever student. The true grower is not afraid to take risks. The true grower makes educated, stupid decisions. Love yourselves, love each other, your plants. And remember, know what someone's going through in the life on the day of the path next to you. Smile, don't be a dick. Be an asshole, not an ass hat. A little bit of love and compassion. We might not just blow ourselves the fuck up. All right, keep it sexy, motherfuckers. This motherfucker got a piss. So peace the fuck out. Wait, where do I end the show? There's how I end the show. All right, and to what? Go be now. Bye, everybody. Word to you, mother.